So it does look like we have a wide mix. I think I'm seeing, like I said, just about every grade level. But we are at 5:15, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in here in just a minute or two. But for those of you just joining in, because I've seen the numbers tick up a little bit after we got started, you do have a link on your screen now. As you know, in Nearpod, as we go through, you'll see it on the top center of your screen as we go through as well. There'll also be a link in the chat. We'll get as many people in as we can. If we get a ton of people in the lesson, we might hit that limit, but we'll get you all the resources. I'll make sure that they're all posted. I always share out the resources and make sure they stay available for you. But on the screen here, you will see that join code. So if you went to it that way, you'll also see that there'll be a link in the chat for you periodically. And as we come into the lesson itself, one of the things that I wanted to point out is first tip from our teachers is just to remember that if you ever need it big, if you had students coming in late and they can't see the little code, remember at any time when you need people to join, if you just click that code again, you'll be able to bring it up. And of course, you can put it into your learning management systems as well. We'll go ahead and go to our first activity here. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize my slides so we can see a little bit more of our screen here. But you should see on slide 2, those of you that were able to join in, one of the uses of Nearpod is the collaborate board. So my goal here was to get a little bit of an insight as to number one, where we are experience-wise. It looks like we have a few newbies. We have some people that have been using it for years. Okay. Favorite tools, drag and drop, time to climb. Figured I would see those. FlowCab, so it's its own tech, but definitely something we use, a tool within Nearpod. Draw it. Okay. Collaborate board. Nice. Okay. So I'm seeing a number of different things here, and any new tips or tricks is something we want to learn. New ways to use it better. Okay. Never used it. Okay. I'm glad to see that we have some new people because I think these tips will be beneficial for you as well as our experienced people. And I'll check back in periodically and try to make sure that we hit all of the different things as they come in. And those of you that are new, you will notice that at least right now, I'm not moderating this. It's coming in, it's going live right away. That is a setting that if you come in, you can make it so that you have to approve the student post. So just know that if you are new, you can do that because I know I've seen every grade level coming into the chat. So make sure you do know, just in case it is needed, that you can go ahead and make that happen if you need to. So our next activity that we came into, this one is just a matching board. So you would select one and then you would try to look for and select to see what the combination is. So obviously if we're looking at undo, you would then want to look for what the next one is for undo. Or if you copied, and it'll let you know instantly whether you got it wrong. If you want to copy, you want to paste. So again, just in case we have any new people, so you get an idea of how some of these activities work. We had a few people that said they love the drag and drop. So as you're thinking about drag and drop, a couple things I'll point out with this one. Keep in mind that you have a large bank that you can get into and look for as far as those different options, but also think about all the different things that could possibly fit in a drag and drop. For instance, this one could have fit as a drawlet so that people would be kind of writing, trying to make that work, but it may well be a lot easier for the students to work on it here in this format of being a drag and drop and getting those things a little bit easier than trying to write with a mouse or a touchpad. And then one of our final activities that was here for everybody is the one that is, sorry, this drawlet board. And again, just trying to get you to think of different ways that you might be able to utilize it. And this will actually come up again a little bit later. You'll see that the drawlet, one thing you can think about is adding that reference media. So for instance, this one branches out to this website so that it gives the students on this bookwidgets.com a way to get their two numbers, and then they could jump back to their Nearpod, and now they're ready to go ahead and do their crayon and fill in their blank, and then you have some workspace down at the bottom. So as you think, try and keep your mind open as we go through about how you might be able to incorporate different things and really kind of stretch what Nearpod can do, kind of elevating even just the built-in pieces. All right. Another one, just to give you an idea of something that could work and a way to kind of make Nearpod a one-stop shop. And that's one of the tips that comes recommended. And it might actually be a bonus tip for us in this session. And what I want to point out is this is a website. So this is Say What You See. So if you've heard about it, and I'm assuming you have, because if you're in education, you couldn't have gotten away from AI in the last year or two. But Say What You See is actually coming from Google Arts and Culture. So I embedded the website into the Nearpod, and that allows your students to not have to open a bunch of different tabs. They can still stay within your lesson. Once I click, you do see it did open that tab. I had that brief image where I could keep them in my Nearpod and they can see what it's going to look like. And I can start to explain it there before I have them click. But because this is a completely bonus thing, I'm going to go through it really quickly. But Say What You See is really safe for just about any grade level. It does not go back and train the model, anything like that. But you can hit start. It'll give you a piece of art on one side, and then your goal is to go ahead and type in the box to try and create what that piece of art is. And again, it did open in a tab once we launched out, but one of the bonus tips for us today is thinking about what can you embed and make sure you take that moment to pause before you have them click, before you have them go out to it. You can explain it here with that snapshot image. Then they open it and they can go ahead and run through that activity. And the nice thing here is I'm just going to say cityscape. Because again, we don't want to spend much time here because it is an offshoot tool, but it's going to go ahead and generate an image and it's going to give you an idea of how close you were. So the goal here, if I was running this through Nearpod, is I'd have the students pause here. I would come back to my Nearpod and I would have a poll question up or a short answer question up that would say, how could I improve what I'm doing? And then I could have that class brainstorming about how I can improve my prompt. I didn't say it was at street level. I didn't use any colors. I didn't use a lot of descriptive language. So that's a way that you can utilize Nearpod, and pardon me, to help you make everything in one spot. Again, that one-stop shop, but bounce from it to different tools as you need to, but using Nearpod to really help you launch it and then bring it back together and get that input as you go through. So a great one to start learning some prompting and a really great tie-in to the reading side of things as well and that descriptive writing piece. So I think you all know it by now, but just in case you stumbled in somehow, we are at Camp Engage. Hopefully, you've had a lot of great sessions so far, and you are continuing it here and going to keep moving on and sharing it afterwards as well. This session is going to be the 10 amazing tips, and that's a bit of a misstatement. And I say that just because we've already had a few tips that aren't even factored in here. You'll likely get more in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 by the time we're done. So hopefully this will be a valuable resource for you. It'll come for you. It'll be linked in. The student paste will be there. So you'll have this going forward. And my contact information will be on one of the slides. And you can always reach out to your customer service rep for Nearpod as well to keep this information flowing your way. But the goal today for what we're going to learn as we go through is to get 10 plus tips from teachers that are actively using Nearpod. And these have come over the last few years. I've been a Nearpod pioneer. I've been a certified trainer for a number of years. And through working with those teachers, working with our teachers in the classroom, these are some of the tips that they've brought forward that have really made a difference within their classrooms. And as it said there, it's not just something that's a bells and whistles. A lot of them are nice, they're fancy features, but it is things that have actively been used in the classroom. I am Patrick Hausman. I am a coach and supervisor of EdTech or instructional technology in Clark County, Virginia. Biggest thing to remember as far as contact is PHASEDU. If you remember that, you can email me at Gmail. You can also connect to me on social media. And just in case I forget it or I run out of time before the end, definitely check out Renaissance and Nearpod on the social media side as well. There's some really great Facebook communities that are going to give you these tips plus 100 more that you can work on and be able to collaborate with teachers all around the world. And something I love to do, especially when we're in a virtual session, I love these meme generators as far as the scales. So as we get ready to begin, if you would go ahead and throw a number in the chat as far as how you're feeling right now as we get ready to get started. Are you kind of peeking in, but you're not quite sure in a number one? Are you already kind of overwhelmed, like you've been hit with a ton of information, that three space? Are you amazed in number seven? Are you just like, I'm here, but I don't know about it, number eight? Okay, I see a good range. I'm not seeing anything come in that looks like it's in too negative of a space. And I should have made the disclaimer that if you need to do two numbers, there's no reason whatsoever that you can't do that at all. Seven or a nine, there we go. Five, okay. A nice wide scale, but I think most of them are on the positive side of things. And just because obviously we're in Nearpod and I want you to think about ways you can incorporate the tool. Obviously, if you're teaching virtually, we could have done this in the chat as I did, but you also could have brought that into a poll question and had that scale as a reference media. So you can be thinking about how you could utilize this, still bring these tools in, and how you can differentiate as far as how you might be able to bring that piece in and get it to the most students in the best way that you think. So obviously you have on the top, I can toggle between that teacher and the student mode, and I could have seen all of them come in here. And one of the nice things is we have over 400 people in our session right now. The chat is one of those ones where as I scroll up, I can get a decent idea, but I'm definitely missing some because of how many people are here. So as you think about how you share the different things in class, you want to also be thinking about if you're possibly losing any of those voices, any of that information, that valuable data that you're trying to capture. So as you think about that, you want to be cognizant of that and how you might be able to use Nearpod instead so that you're able to go ahead and capture that data, keep it in. And I saw something that stuck on slide 7. All right, so let's see. Let me come back in here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the student paste and see if that jumps you up to where I am. Are we in? Okay, we're in business now. Awesome. Good. So, and again, the only thing that we missed, if you were looking at the Nearpod and not the screen, you should likely miss this little meme scale that came up. But, and I see now we got some answers and things coming in, but you can see how much more valuable it would have been for me to present it this way the first time, because I then would have been able to see how wide of a range we have, where are the most answers coming in, and I then would have that in my reports on the Nearpod side as well. So think about those little entrance tickets, those things you might be doing that are those quick snapshots that Nearpod may be able to help you out with so that you have that data in a more easy to digest and utilize format. And I know we probably have some people still working on it, so I apologize if I skip past here, but that's another one of our bonus tips. So one of the ones, and that is connected to the way that I started this out. First tip that comes in from our teachers is try to make the first slide in your Nearpods some sort of an activity that is student paced. And that way, when your students come in, whether it's review, whether it's enrichment, a bell activity, an entrance ticket, give them some sort of an activity that they can jump into as soon as they enter the room so that they're off and running. You can take attendance, do whatever you need to, and then you can switch it back to teacher paced and be off and running with that lesson. But you already have that activity ready for them. They're going with it. They don't need you to get started with it. It's already built in. It's working out for you. A lot of our teachers have utilized this and it helped make that beginning of the class really seamless for them. As we roll into our second tip. So I just saw in the chat come in as far as switching from teacher to student view. You have to have it turned on as far as being able to switch. I would have to have it on student paced. So if I were to say, we're going to switch this slide 14, we're going to turn on student, and let me see. And I think we need to be on an activity. So let me jump back here. So not on our regular slides. If we're on an activity, and sorry, this would work in the teacher view too. I misspoke there. You'll then have this toggle at the top. So you can have it on student view, explain this is what you're going to see, this is how this works. And then you would toggle to teacher, and those options are right up here at the top. We'll go ahead and jump our way back to 14. Minimize our slides. Okay, so as we jump into our second tip that we're going to have, and that is the student paste at any time. And I actually just demoed that, so we won't have to go much into that one at all. But it's something to keep in the back of your mind that as you build your lessons, and if you're a tech coach and you're working with your teachers, think about how you can utilize that so that maybe you're running centers and you want to start it off teacher pace, give a little bit of direct instruction, lay that foundation. Then you can come down to the bottom, click on your turn on student paste. You'll see it'll start on the slide you're on, and then you can select and say, maybe my piece here that is going to be my student paste for that center goes from slide 14 to 16. I'd select that, hit turn on, and instantly your students are able to take control and do those activities on those few slides at their own pace. And that can be a really valuable piece, regardless of which grade level you're on, to be able to then free you up, work around the room, do a few things that way. And then at any point, you can always come back in, turn off that student paste, and then launch back in with your activities that are coming after that. All right, so let's see. There's a black box covering the bottom part of the screen. There is no box on my screen. So let's see. Let's see if I do a little wizardry here to resize this. Since I can't see the box, does moving it like that make sure that, can you now see everything? Perfect. Okay. So we'll leave it over here so that you guys can see everything, and I'll go through that one more time. I don't know where the it's a phantom black box because it's not on my screen at all. But down here at the right, you're going to see just that piece that I was talking about. If you hover over it, it's going to say turn on student paste. It's right next to where you can show or hide your student names. But I could come down here, and again, maybe for my activity, it's going to be slides 14 to 16 that are my student paste. You're going to be able to select that slide there, hit turn on. It's going to be instantly changed for the students. And then when you're ready to take it, you're going to go ahead and do turn off. So then you're able to go ahead and do that at any point. So you can pull it back and forth and be able to run with it from there. So I'm glad everybody can see everything there, and hopefully that came through for everybody that time. And I do have my chat and everything on another monitor, so there's literally nothing showing on mine. So hopefully I know everybody can see it now. We'll run through it here, and you can enjoy a little bit of the mountains as well too. So tip number 3, as we make our way through, this one is all about adding a little bit of accessibility to it. And this is about the reference material. And as you can see here in the center part of the screen, and again, as you see these and you get into the student pace, I went ahead and linked in wherever I could. If there's a video that shows you how to do it, I've linked that in so that it'll walk you through. If I haven't found a video or something that's there and ready to go, I will have gone ahead and linked it to the help page on the Nearpod site. So you'll have those resources to come back to. But if you remember our one meme scale that I took you to, where it had that picture in the top part, that's an example of using that reference media. So if I come over to my Nearpod here, I'm going to go ahead and just jump into one of these lessons. And hopefully my internet won't get too upset that I'm doing things on the fly. We'll close these pieces. And again, just to point back to what we're doing, we're going to look at adding some reference media. And you can see here on the slide, I can do that in a time decline, open-ended, drawlet. All of these ones are all ones that you can make that happen in. So if I came into here and maybe I'll just say add new, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to say an open-ended question, add that in. So right here, you can do your question, everything you normally would. And then there's two accessibility features here. So this is going to borrow from one of our other tips as well. But right here is your add reference media. And you can see the different options you have, everything from image to recording audio to going ahead and looking at the PDF. So all of these different things are ones that you can go ahead and add in. So for instance, maybe I'm asking the students about a video that we just watched. Maybe I want to go ahead and link in that video here so they can easily jump back out to it. Maybe I have the PDF of the transcript. Maybe I want to link that here so that maybe my students that didn't grasp it as well when they were just listening to it have a way to read that text. And another one, maybe I want to link in audio of me reading so that the students can hear that question coming to them versus just reading it. And we do have immersive reader, but in case you want it to be in your voice, you would have that option. And then the other bonus one that is a tip that I'll reference out right here is right here where it says enable student audio recordings. So think about whether that could work for you as far as being able to have the students read it and talk about the answer versus typing it. Sometimes we're working on typing skills. We want to see that they can type it and spell things correctly. So if you're looking for that, you may not want to toggle this on. But if you're just looking to get the answer, hear their thinking or see their thinking, maybe this is an option that you can do for that accessibility side to allow them to be able to put that in an audio format that might make it a little easier for your L students or some of your students that are maybe just learning the language. I think of this not only in that L space, but for some of our littles, our kindergarten, our pre-K, this is a really great way to give them an option to answer that question without having to figure out how to type it in and figure out where all the letters are on the keyboard. And I saw a couple things come in that we're looking at maybe slowing down a little bit, and I can absolutely do that. We don't have to get through necessarily every one of the tips, so I'll do my best to slow down a little bit. And I saw another one that said, how did I get to different places? So on the screen now, you should see tip number 3. What I did was go ahead and just open another tab to Nearpod and just open a lesson in the editing view. And one of our options that our slides tells us is that we can go ahead and use open-ended questions. They would have reference media. So I just added a open-ended question, and there's my reference media right off to the side. And then if I wanted to do a PDF, I just click that and I could drag and drop, or I could go ahead and just snag one of these, put it in, and now that reference media will be there. And if it is a PDF, you would be able to click it, make it bigger, and have that come up so students can see it better. All right, so on to tip number 4. So tip number 4 is thinking about not just adding videos, but going ahead and utilizing some of the interactive videos that are in Nearpod already. So again, I'm going to jump to another tab, but the tip here is trying to make that video experience not as passive as just watching it, but maybe adding in some questions as you go through. And this is a really good way to, if you're going to have students watch videos as part of centers or something like that, where it's student paced, adding these questions in can be a really good way to utilize the fact that you want them to answer it and not just click it and walk away. So if we come to, again, this is just my one to edit and play with, so it's another tab with a Nearpod open. If we click on Add New, we're going to go ahead and just do a little bit of a scroll here, and you could look for adding in your videos, adding in interactive videos, whatever you might want to do. So we're going to go ahead and click on video. I could have also searched video at the top. Once I click on the video, you can see that I can go out to YouTube. I could also upload my own. I'm going to go ahead and stay in the Nearpod library, and I'm just going to choose one of these randomly up at the top. But because we do have some new people on the call, I do want to point out that I could do a keyword search, but I also have these really nice filters down the side. So I could choose Virginia standards for me. I could choose South Carolina. I could also look at doing world languages and narrow down not only my subject, but my grade level as well. But I'm going to go ahead and select one so we can at least see how it works. So when we pull up the video, you can see each one of these blue dots is a question that is already built into this video. And any one of these questions, if I click on a blue dot, I can hit edit and I can adapt any of these and go ahead and change that the way I want it to be. I can go back. And the nice piece is down here at the bottom, I can also click add activity and I can put new ones in anywhere that I want them to be. Maybe when I open it, there's too many dots. I want to take some away. You also have the option to click. You can do edit and delete that question out. Maybe it's too long. You can come over and hit trim, make that a 1 minute video instead of this one being 6 minutes video. So it's one of those where you're able to go ahead and customize that, make it work. So you do not have to copy the video first. Once you build it into your lesson, it will be its own entity off to the side. And I did see one other question come in, and it's going to be a tip a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it in now, and then we'll just breeze through it when we hit the tip on the other end. So you'll notice that I'm on slide 16, tip number 4. So we can pretend that this was a video my students just went through it. I can also come up here and hit menu, and you're going to see this is one of our tips that have come in from our teachers, and it is that piece of being able to add an activity on the fly. So again, in my lesson, if I go left from where the code is, I'm looking for the menu button, and then I would do add activity. And you can see here are the different ones that I have as an option. Poll isn't one there right now, but I do have the true and false. I could also add a slide and make it so that students could do something there. They could elaborate on it. They could work there. Hopefully we'll get some more options and stuff coming in. But if you do need to add something on the fly, go ahead and do that menu and then gonna do that add activity button right there. But I can say without a doubt, being able to make these interactive, it was awesome during the pandemic, and it is something we've continued to utilize going forward as a way to, again, as we start out these videos, and a lot of our teachers will only put 2 or 3 questions. They'll usually strip a couple out. But remember, they can be multiple choice questions. If I hit activity, they can also be open-ended. So you can make it a short and sweet, like, is this what just happened? Yes or no. So think about how in depth you might want them to go. And you can see down here at the bottom a couple things that I didn't do. When students watch them, they can change the playback speed. And if I click on the settings gear, you can also look at the video questions as well as far as the quality. But you can, again, I saw it coming in. You can change any of these and make those questions exactly what you want them to be. Make sure that you do, anytime you're editing, of course, it's going to help you auto save a little bit, but make sure you do save and exit when you're ready to make that thing happen and run it with the kids. So our tip number 5, we're about halfway through and we're doing pretty well on time. So I think we're going to be able to track through. And please let me know. I think I've slowed down a bit. I got a little excited there and was going a little bit fast, but just in case I'm still going too fast, let me know. I see a couple clapping hands, so I think we're okay. But please let me know. I get excited and kind of jazzed on the tech stuff. So if I get going too fast again, just tell me to pump the brakes. Tip number 5 is thinking about all the different ways that you could utilize Drawlet. So as you're thinking about Drawlet, and it's one of the most popular things when it first came out, a lot of our teachers used it, and a lot of them would use essentially a white background and ask the students to draw something. But think about all the different things you might be able to upload into the background of that Drawlet to make it something that's even more engaging and can help you hit the topic a little more than just having the students draw something. So there is a video linked in, but if I were to go ahead and go to my testing Nearpod here that we've been creating a few different things in, if I come to my addition tool there, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Drawlet, click on Add Selected. So you can see I get my normal Drawlet board, but you can see I have a couple options up here at the top. My reference media, I'm always going to point that out because even if it's a Drawlet, if you have a supplemental material that could help the students, think about what you may be able to add to give them just that one extra scaffold. But the one that we're focused on right now for this tip is right down here towards the bottom right, and it is the one that says add background. So if we click on add background, you can see you have blank option, but you also have this blue plus sign right here. And I can take this to go ahead and do a Google search. So maybe we'll just stick with my background that you guys get to see a little bit. So we could say I want to do a mountain, click on save. Now I have a completely different thing in that background that the students could label parts of or do different things with. You could also have this be a piece of a worksheet. We've actually used this for our auto shop and our small engine repair class that we have at the high school to go ahead and have them bring in a picture of something, and then the students are labeling the parts of the engine that they're going to work on, or they're tying in different things, linking different things in. And one of the pieces I do want to make sure that I point out here is that as you're working through these different things, our next level, kind of our bonus tip or our 5A, is thinking about having students be able to come to their essentially making this a student pace slide. But notice that down here at the bottom, you do have the add image option. So if my students coming through this, you could have the students take a screenshot of what they're working on, what they've been doing, have them upload that screenshot, and then their second piece of their draw it is to label and explain their thinking on what they were working on, what they gave you that screenshot of. So not only can you think about it on the educator side of how could I utilize this and put different things in the background, everything from mazes. Maybe you're doing, in a way, some offline coding and you're giving them a digital board and then asking them the code that would navigate the mouse from one side out of the maze on the other side. But you could also flip it to the student side and ask them to upload something and then record details and things on that. So definitely, as you think about Draw It, you want to kind of brainstorm and think of all those possible ways that you could utilize how versatile that tool is. Okay. So this one we're just going to do really briefly, but we're halfway through our tips. We're about halfway through our time, a little over, so we're doing really well. So when we look at something, I've actually started building this into some of our other ones, but I wanted to point out that Nearpod has a really good stockpile of some different SEL components as well, so that we can hopefully get a really nice happy part of the side as far as getting nice cat reactions towards the end as well. One video I did want to show you here is one of those SEL tips, and it's a way, in this case, to do box breathing, which is a way to settle and kind of relax a little bit. So I'll play just a little bit of this. I won't play the whole 2 minutes, but in case you don't know what box breathing is, we'll play it for just a second so you can have a little brain break before we hit the second half of our tips.
Box breathing. Hey there, Sonia here. Sit up or stand up tall and keep your eyes open or closed, whatever works for you. And let's take a moment to clear your mind and relax your body by creating a box with our breath. Ready? Take a deep, soft breath in for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out slowly, softly for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Again.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there, but that is a really valuable tool. I've seen it pay dividends both at like an elementary level as well as a high school and an adult level. So box breathing, some of those techniques can definitely be something that is valuable. And you'll notice here at the bottom, I could add an activity into this video as I'm going through, but I also have my menu up there at the top, right there. I can do that piece to allow my students just to break it up a little bit in this sense of a brain break. And as I think about those things and I want to model a best practice for you, anything that would be this long of me kind of talking and not being able to have as much interactions as I would love to have, I think this was a great thing to include so that we could just have a moment before we dive back in Then hopefully take a few deep breaths and then launch into number 6. So on 6A, and I split this one because this is one we've already touched on a little bit, but one of the tips that came in from the teachers is how you could add content on the fly. And one side of this tip is the one we've already looked at, where if I'm in a lesson, it's changed a little bit since the screenshot. Apologies for that, but I would go to my menu, I'd go ahead and do activity. But the other side that our teachers have really liked, and I'm going to go ahead and just go back to my home screen for this one, is they came to me and said, well, what if I am doing a lesson? I didn't do anything in Nearpod, I didn't prep anything, but I want to utilize Nearpod because I realize I really want to get a gauge on where my students are. I want to get a quick snapshot, but I didn't prep anything beforehand. I said, well, there's a good thing for that too. Just come into your nearpod.com, into your home screen, and then you're going to utilize your quick launch up here towards the top right. And I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can hopefully see it a little better. But right here is quick launch, and I can quickly launch an open-ended question, interactive video, or a collaborate board so that I can get an activity out to the students within a few seconds. For instance, if I did my open-ended, I could type my question in here, do quick launch, and I do have to put something in the box, hit quick launch, and you can see that within a few seconds, that question is created, able to be launched out to my students. So even if I didn't prep, I didn't have my Nearpod lesson ready to go, I can utilize that option to be able to really quickly get a gauge of where my students might be. Another tip that I've connected our teachers to on here is to have a lesson sitting here that is literally just maybe a question or two that you can click, do edit if you need to, and launch it out within a couple minutes. Maybe you want it to be a little more pinpointed, or instead of the options you see here, you want to poll question, something like that. Just keep one here on standby that you can launch out within a couple minutes. And again, that was our tip 6A, which is our launch an activity on the fly while you're teaching. It would be a separate code. So in this instance where I'm launching one here, this is as if I don't have a lesson at all. I haven't prepped anything. I'm not running an Nearpod. I'm not doing anything on that side. I just want to launch this out. It is its own separate thing. You can see here down at the bottom, it is actually giving me a box for that open-ended question, and it says quick launch on it versus the teach option that you would typically see. So if we look here, we had our 6, and our 6A or 6B, I should say, is that option to go ahead and do a quick launch. So as we move forward here just a little bit, and we may actually have a little time for some more bonus tips, which will be awesome here towards the end. But tip number 7 is adding and allowing audio. So this is one that we already touched on a little bit as far as in our question, but just in case we had anybody that missed that piece, I'll do it one more time super quickly. But you can have it so that you add audio for clarification, and you can also enable it on the student side. So if I come back into my one here that is my tester, my play one, if I come into my open-ended question, you can see my options here. I'm going to delete that reference media I did before. But if I wanted to do part 1 of that problem, as far as adding audio for directions, that is the top piece here, where I would say add an image and audio, my reference media, and I could do a video and have that of myself. I could record audio on the fly, or if I had an audio file, I could upload that. And then the second piece to that piece of tip number 7 is enabling it for students, and that's toggling this box on right here to enable that question to have those student responses. And then if we continue through, again, we did that tip already, so I went through that one a little quick, but that is, again, it's a really simple thing, but it can be a really nice accessibility feature. Okay, so this one is kind of an oldie but goodie, but sometimes even us veterans that I saw that we had and some of our new people, it's really great to remember as we work with Nearpod, as we look at different things. A lot of times we're going to start by coming up to the top part, and I'm just going to type in a topic. And I'm going to do Civil War for this one because I know it's one that'll have a decent amount of content. And not that by any means is it the only one that has a lot. But if we search for our topic, one of the things that we're kind of in the habit of, and our students are definitely in this space, and a lot of us as teachers are creeping there as well, is we do our search and then we instantly start scrolling. But you can see here, I have over 600 things that are going to be in this list. So the tip here that came in from the teachers was to pause and kind of remember back a little bit to where you might have started your Nearpod journey. And remember that after you search, one of the best things you can do is use these boxes to cut down on some of those things you see. One click has taken me down 100. Two clicks, I'm now down 400 things. If I know it came from a partner, I could come in and select that. But now I'm down 400 already. And then you have a secondary filter that you can easily do too with just one click. And that's up here at the top. So number one, couple clicks, I got my subject and grade. But I know that what I'm really looking for is an activity. So I'm going to click that too. So now I'm down from over 600 to 69. And then if I want to take it a little bit of a step further, remember that we have our option over here that is our filter by standards. And then I can limit this even more by coming to my standard, doing my subject, and then I'm going to keep going down from there. And that's going to take that even further from in the 60s. In a lot of cases, taking that extra minute or so to run through my filters might take me from over 600 down to 10. And that's a much more manageable list to look through, and it's actually going to save me time likely in the long run by taking those steps to remember that I can do everything from subject to grade level, source, partner, standards, and even that content type. So as you think about it, as you use it more and more, remember some of those oldies but goodies as well that you can fall back to that are those gems to share so that people don't just do that search, scroll right away, and get lost in all the awesome stuff that's there. All right. Tip number 9. And this is one that when I use Nearpod, I use this almost every time because we are a Google division and we have been a Google division for a long time. So slides is one of my first go-to places to have content already and also a lot of times creating content. So this tip is really specific to our Google districts. So I apologize if you're in the Microsoft space, but if you're new and you're in a Google division and you didn't know this existed, this will probably be a really awesome tip for you. And it is the fact that in Google Slides, and I have my Google slide that I actually use for this presentation, if you come into the extensions menu, which is going to be right in between tools and help, you'll see extensions here at the top. You'll see that my Nearpod is already here, but you may have to come to add-ons and then do get add-ons. And you would just do a quick search for Nearpod. And you'll see here mine's already added, but if it wasn't, I would click it and hit install. It does have to be enabled by your administrator. So if you come in and this says that you can't add it, it's not open, it's not unlocked for you, you might have to submit that tech support ticket or whatever your process is to get it enabled. But then you would have this being able to sit there and maybe you already have a few slideshows. In some cases, some of our teachers have taught with slides for a lot. They might have 100, 150 different slideshows they might use throughout the year. Now they can come into any one of those, come up to extensions, go to Nearpod, hit open Nearpod. We're going to get a side panel that appears on the right-hand side. And we're going to easily then be able to say, and I can't do it in this one, but I would hit edit lesson. And let's actually see, because I do want to show you this. I'm going to pull up one of these other sessions and see if I can make it into a Nearpod for us on the fly. My computer's been pretty happy, so I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that the internet holds out for us. And here we are. So here we go. Here's another one that I haven't built in Nearpod yet, but you can see when I hit that option here, now I have a lot of those different features, nearly all of those interactive pieces. So now this kind of passive slideshow as it was in the past that I may have partnered with some offline activities or different tools before, I can now not only have these slides, but add these interactive pieces in. So now this is a dynamic and engaging experience for the kids where they're actively going to be participating versus potentially just consuming that material. And you can see I have all of my options from drag and drop down through and including brain breaks, collaborate boards, fill in the blanks, and I can even convert the slide I'm on to a Drawlet board. So maybe you already have some great content there. I can do convert to a Drawlet, and now I have that slide in my background. It is a huge thing that can help you save time in a lot of different cases so that you're able to go ahead and work on it. So it does auto save as you work, but to get it to Nearpod, and this is a huge part here, is down here at the bottom, you have to hit save and go to Nearpod. So you'd make all your edits, add your pieces in, then you hit save and go to Nearpod. And I'll go ahead and come back to my play one, jump us back to the home screen. And then once you hit save and go to Nearpod, it's going to appear here just like your other lessons. Here's the one that we're actually working in. You get your teach button and you're ready and off and running. You do want to remember that each time you edit here, if you change anything on the Google Slide side of things, if you add another activity, make sure you hit that save and go to Nearpod button. That way it's going to refresh, make that new copy in Nearpod that you're able to be off and running with. We'll go ahead and close that one, but definitely the side tip to that one, the 9A or B, if you would, that is that piece of make sure you do that save and go to Nearpod, then you're ready to launch it. All right. As we come into one of our last tips, and again, we'll throw in some bonus ones because we have a little bit of time left, and I'm also going to poll the audience, see if there's some tips out there to share in as well, because everybody will be able to see that chat. So be thinking about things you might use that we haven't tucked in here yet. And I also want to make sure that we have some questions because I'm sure I've missed some in the side that I might be able to come back to, but I wanted to leave a little bit of time for some of that Q&A as well. But our tip number 10 is coming into the space that, again, it's the elephant in just about any room you're in, especially whether you're in education, whether you're in business, if you speak about ed tech, artificial intelligence is one of the biggest things that's going to come up on nearly any time that you hear. So on this slide for AI, I've linked in a few different things for you. One of them is the help page that is all about using AI to create lessons in Nearpod. We also have one that can help you write prompts. So again, I don't want to just show it to you. I want to hopefully give you some tools that if you are really new, and I know we had some new people to Nearpod, you might also be new to the AI side. So you have your help page. You also have some helpful prompts that you can come in and snag and maybe do some copy and paste, save yourself a little bit of time there. And then last but not least, one of the newest posts on the topic you can see just came out a couple weeks ago and is 5 tips. So take our probably about 15-ish tips that we're at now. We're going to go ahead and take it up to 20 here. And you have 5 tips for Nearpod's AI lesson generator. And you can see you get a decent amount of information. We got a video that'll walk us through different things. And then we have right here our 5 different tips. And I'll scroll through these slow, but they will be linked in for you. But you can see here you can create lessons for new units, maybe things you've never taught before. Think about utilizing it to break big topics into smaller chunks. Maybe you want to do some differentiating that you've not done before. And again, I am going quickly just on this piece because you will have these resources, and they are, as you can see, on the Nearpod blog, which is nearpod.com/blog. Think about maybe some extra practice. So maybe you have a really great lesson, but you want to prompt the AI to create you something just to do some extra practice. And then last but not least on this list, for number 5, something that's really good to not only cover, but it can be a unique thing that students maybe haven't known about their local community. And that's maybe tapping into some local history. Because remember, the AI is going to be able to pull from a lot of different information out on the internet. So you might even learn something by some of the topics you could ask it about. And I would even kick this one up a notch and maybe try and tie some of that local history into the content you're teaching. You could very easily ask it to try and connect maybe your math and your local history. And even easier connection might be English and that side of things. And we'll go ahead and close this one. I don't want to tempt the internet gods too much by having it shut down on me because I'm clicking too many things. But if we come to our Nearpod screen, you can see right here we're back to our home screen. So the easiest place to get to as far as the Nearpod side of things in that AI piece, again, I'm just at nearpod.com/library. So I'm in my home library screen. All of my lessons are here. My folders are here. Right above this, you're going to see right here where it says create. I'm going to have my generate AI there. Close that. So if I click on right here, you'll see that I have my AI screen that'll pop up. Notice it is in beta, so it is something that's currently being worked on. So I'm not saying that necessarily to say that it's glitchy and watch out because it works really well, but just keep in mind that it's constantly improving. So what you see here might be different the next time you come in, but likely different in a good and new way. So as we come in, and I went ahead and prepped one just so I wouldn't be live typing because my keyboard can get a little loud and you guys don't need to hear that. You want to hear the tips. So when we launch it open, you can see right here at the top, we have what do your students need to learn? So I can have my prompt here. And notice I just typed in a little bit, but I have 375 more characters to go. So if I go ahead and I'll just cut that out. You can see if I put it back in, you have up to 500 characters. So that's a decent amount of prompt that you can do. And you also have right here on the screen, especially if people are new, I didn't give you near enough time to actually read that blog post and be able to consume that and know some of those sample prompts. Right here's an example for you. And you can see I can go to the side a few times and get an even bigger idea of what this might be able to do. You have everything from fractions and math. We had some science ones, a number of different things, including history. You can write your prompt and notice you can come back to it at any point. We can always come back and change that. You also have your standards. So you can come in just like we could in our other screen and go ahead and select the different standards, number of different more national standards at the top. You also have your state standards. And I won't spend a ton of time on this, but you can see I can do my subject. I have my grade level, and then I can actually scroll down through and check the box to see. Oops. And I didn't want to close it, but luckily I can click it, bring it right back. I have my prompt here. I can select my grade level, which likely is going to be informed by the standards I choose. And I'm just going to go ahead and click a couple. It won't necessarily be the ones I had the first time, but it'll all work out. There, I think it was actually these two. There we go. I have my prompt here. Again, I can come back and change this still. I'm going to go ahead and hit create lesson. And you'll see here in the center, we're moving. It's going to take it a few minutes because what it's creating is actually more than just a few slides. It's not just some text on a slide, things like that. It's actually going to be a really flushed out Nearpod lesson already. So you can see I have some that are slides, but as I scroll down, you can see that I have a poll question here. I have a collaborate board, an open-ended question, another poll, a drawlet board, multiple choice. I even have a time to climb built in. So I can go ahead, if I think this looks good, I can hit create lesson right here at the bottom. If I think, well, maybe I don't want this one, or I want my objectives to be first. You can use these arrows, go up and down, toggle them. I'm going to go ahead and just tell it to create. So you can see that first step is getting our outline. We can play with that. Not yet has the content been created. So that piece is often just a hair quicker. But you can see here, it's going to go through at a decent pace and go ahead and get us that lesson created. But while that's working, I'm going to go ahead and jump back to my library here. Let's see. I think it got moved. That's okay. But you can see I have this one right here, my states of matter. If I click on this one, This one was actually one, and I played with it, so it added in a few things. But this is actually one that I made with the AI tool just a couple days ago, and you can see it's built in the same way. I can come in and edit. I can do all the different pieces I would in Nearpod. I can come in and add my reference media in. I can toggle on so my students can have that accessibility of being able to, in this case, this is where it would be to do audio, but this one is whether or not they can select more than one right answer. You do want to come in and double check. Make sure the spelling is there. Make sure the answer choices make sense. It's really good. It doesn't get much incorrect, but just like any AI tool, you want to come in and just do a quick double check. I'm going to go ahead and pop back to our tab that was generating for us. You can see I only went back to the other tab for maybe a minute or so. This was probably done a while ago, but it didn't take too long. And I can click, and here's my lesson that so far I have probably doing my prompt, doing my different things, maybe 2 or 3 minutes into. And I have a lesson here that is connected to my standards, has multiple engagement opportunities for the students, has some good text information that I can edit and work with. But within a few minutes, I have that lesson again, complete with all my editable engagement activities ready to go. And all of these different slides, I can come in and change the text. I can come in and change the image. I can change all of those different pieces that I might need to do to make this lesson even better. And then I would hit my save and exit as I always do. And within, we'll say a typical lesson, if I was building it from scratch, might take me 3 or 4 hours to get all those pieces, all of that content. I came in, I made it. Maybe I spent 30 minutes or so customizing it. So all in all, 35 minutes with vetting it. I can come in and I'm ready to go. So I saw one question come in that I'll go ahead and pop in and edit this one. You can see the question was, how would I change the image? So if I come in, if you just click the image, I could just click it, hit delete, and or hit the trash can. Oh, and actually, pardon me. Let's see. Come in and I can go ahead and just add an image. I could overlay it, but I can also hit the trash can here and wipe that image out. So I can bring in any of the image that I might want to bring in that isn't the one that was brought in for me. The images are usually pretty good though, so hopefully you won't have to replace too many on those slides. So we're at 6:12, so we have just a few minutes left. If you haven't already, we're going to do just a couple more things. One of them I do want to bring in. I want to bring up our poll question one more time for us. So now that we've come through, and I apologize that I need to zoom out just a hair so we can see our numbers. Number one, you do have the evaluation link in the chat for you now. So make sure you fill those out for each one of your sessions. It's really valuable feedback, not only for Renaissance and Nearpod, but it's really great for us presenters to get that feedback so we can keep making these sessions even better for you. But if you would, go ahead and you can do the chat. You can answer in the poll if you want. But now that we're coming to the close of this session, how are you feeling after you've gotten these tips? I see a few nines coming in, and these scales always have at least one for me where I'm like, I think that's good. Like that's a happy thing, but it might just be so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. So we have some wows. I don't see any eights coming in because I think that's the only one that I look at and I'm like, okay, that's somebody that's unhappy. I did not do well. And then again, remember you have this, so I can come back here and I can get a really quick gauge on where those best answers are coming in or where the most answers are coming in. And I think this is close to our last slide, just a couple more. Number one, if you are new, I saw that we had a few new people. I can't stress enough that the Facebook page is really valuable. Social media, you can get a lot of really good connections there. And if nothing else, for anybody that was new, make sure you check out this Nearpod resource site. This is an amazing place to come into and not only get access to live webinars, different content you can get into, but a lot of different how do I get started, direct link to the YouTube channel, and direct links to the help site as well. And of course, we saw that great blog piece on the AI side. Another great place to check out. If you haven't bookmarked it already, make sure you snag that Nearpod resource site. And as I said before, make sure you connect. You have Camp Engage on social media. Share it forward. One of the best things, and this is a crowdsourced presentation. Remember your fellow educators. Share as much as you can. And if you can, share it at what I always call my favorite price, and that's free. I always put my stuff out so that we can share it forward. We are right at ending time at 6:15. Sorry I talked through our Q&A time, but we'll make sure we answer everything we can. Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for all the amazing work you do. Thank you so much. You are all very welcome. Have a great continuation of the conference. And again, make sure, as you can, share it forward, pay it forward, help out your fellow teachers.